check on in. If you're coming in and you're coming in after I did the live, there was another live that I may have accidentally, I don't know what happened. The whole screen went black, and I hope I got the title right again because I had to redo the whole live. So check on in for those who are in this live because the other one ended. So I don't know what happened and I don't even see anyone here. So I'll wait until those from the other live to show up. It's weird. I don't know what happened. Hey, y'all, I'm so sorry. Listen, the whole screen went black. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was an accident. So check back on in. Yeah, you know, everything when you start talking about Matrix. Yeah, I don't know. They pulled the tricks on me. Silly rabbit, tricks are for kids. Hey, Pavel. Hey, Linda. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what happened. So check on him. I'm sorry I'm eating tapioca. Like I said, for anyone who wants to know, FleurBrun's trying to... I have to be off coffee. I shouldn't be drinking coffee as much. So I make this amazing... I make my own honey boba. And it's muddy turmeric. It tastes like coffee. Like mock coffee with like all these vitamins, like a Vita cup. It's so good. So I made it. So I feel really happy. So check on her. I'm sorry, it's really... My mother hates when I eat on screen with y'all. Denise! Oh, Lovey, there isn't any reason to give up. Remember that old corny saying? It's so good, Pebble. It's really good. It makes coffee. I'm not missing coffee as much when I make that. Remember, my Lovey, every day changes. Like, you'll have one maybe funky day, but if you wait around, something else better will come along. Like everything lifts up the next day. As low as something is, there'll be a day that something, the day will rise up, or another day will be better. Babette. Babette's on the loose. So Denise, feel better, mama. Okay? I think we were talking about that. Hey, Mar. We were talking about that. A lot of people were having really kind of funky days yesterday and the day before. It could be with all these convergence, and we don't even know if they're planets. These planet convergences, these retrogrades, but the new moon is coming, so you'll always feel better. And if you're having a hard day, spell yourself. Spell yourself another day, okay? I finally got my mudra. Hold on. I'm really bad. I finally got one of my mudras right. And for those who don't know, my hand... Oh, anybody who was on Zoom knows. I have burned my hand severely, and look at all the melanin coming back. I didn't know your hands regenerate totally. So I burned my whole hand. So actually it's just a burn, but it's actually almost fully recovered. The melanin is actually spotting in. That's wild. It feels like a baby's hand again. So Denise, feel better. Every day gets better. So do yourself a favor and just write the life that you want. This is a simulation. Everything that you want and desire, you can create. So we aren't any victims here. We're a victim of projection and accepting other people's projection on us. But at the end of the day, everything that we put out there is how we exist. Okay? Yeah, this is the mudra. I usually do it with the two hands. I got it better. It was really tough for me to do this one. I can usually do it better. So that's the mudra. I'm doing all the mudras. And big up to the zombies. We had a hard time with a video last night, right? There was a video we were showing about the mudras, about the 4 gates, and that joint kept breaking, shutting down, kicking people off of Zoom. So everyone should be working on the mudras. Denise, I suggest you do some wonderful spelling. Write how you orchestrate what you want in your life. Talk about the things that you're grateful for, and you'll bring more of that in. Okay? So I wish you so much light energy, so much love, so much nourishment. Okay, so you'll be fine, mama. Sometimes it's tough. Like I said, a couple people were having tough days for the last couple days. We're in the movie. Gio said we're in the movie Groundhog Day. Okay. I'm gonna stop chewing now. I was waiting for a few more people to check in before I start the conversation. It's a little, we're going through loops, perpetual loops, and because of that, if you are in the same loop that was a funky loop, it's gonna make you feel disconcerted, little low vibrationally, emotionally, a little unstable. You have to remember this is a simulation, it's a hologram. Thoughts are things, energetically, whatever you think. And be careful what Willy Wonka is projecting to you out there. Because Willy Wonka wants you to project what they want, what their agendas are. So they'll show it to you and you take in that energy and you project it back out, and that's your reality. So be careful with that. Okay? So let's get into the conversation, my loves. Hey, Nora D. Nora D's in the house, California. How's the weather over there, Nora? Because you're a Northeast scout, right? You're a North... Ah, bonjour, bonjour, Joseph. Joseph. Comment ça va? Destin, Florida. You're in Destin. Ah, it's very nice. C'est trop chaud, trop chaud. Trop chaud aujourd'hui. I don't know the temperature now, but it's very, very hot. Your head hurts really bad. Shirtle, if your head hurts, remember I gave you the suggestion, get a little bit of non-hexane castor oil, some cayenne pepper, rub it together, put it on your temples where your head hurts. It'll help to relieve your headache. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, but I just happen to know some things. Okay, so if you have a headache, put that on your forehead, my love, okay? Okay, so let's get in the conversation. Yeah, about gematria. We do gematria every day. Yeah, absolutely. Gematria is how I see, like if I want to know the energy behind a certain term or person, we always do the gematria. I construct my life with gematria is part of my daily life. Like if I want to know something deeper and I want to see what the collective, kind of like the algorithm of a name or a person or a thing, I always do gematria. Okay? So yeah, hold on. Hope my dogs don't go crazy. I'm expecting a package today, and I was gonna do it on live. I'm a little early, so we found another way to do Bluetooth, people. So I'm gonna use it, and maybe I'll come back on live to show you guys how. Excuse me, I just burped. I'm sorry. I'm gonna come on later. Maybe I'll do it on IG. I think we're going out later on today. So if it doesn't come too late, I was going to show you how to work the, how to find out if someone's been shotted up, shotted up, Cucarachi shotted up. Okay. So if my package comes here on time, it says it's coming here today. So hold on. Do you do relationship consultant? I mean, I don't think you want my relationship advice. I'm very Creole. I would like I can give advice on certain things, and it's just my wisdom because I'm seasoned, meaning I've lived on the planet and I've engaged in a way, and I was married for so long. But you know, I'm Creole too, so I'm a little saucy. My advice is a little unorthodox. I don't want to get you in trouble. So I can, but I will get you in all kinds of, listen, I mean, they already know. So you asking that, you may not know me well, but everybody on here knows already. And I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I'm trying to make you elevate you. You don't want my relationship advice. My relationship advice is, if something is expired, you know, I don't want to get it started because it's too early. There's probably children in here. I'm sorry. All right, I'm going to start. Please put a like on the video as you come in. I'm just waiting for more people to check in. That's it. Because I don't want to start the conversation. And no one's in here. I'm sorry. I'm going to chew my boba. I love it. Okay, so what I'm drinking before everyone, because I'm waiting for more people to check in. You know, FleurBrun loves her chocolate. I mean, not chocolate. Her coffee. I had to lay off of it. for certain reasons. And so I make my own. I love my cup. This is my boba cup. I bought this. It's like a bamboo cup. You know, I'm big into bamboo. So I make my own honey boba. And then what I do is I make a dirty turmeric. It's like a mock coffee. It's like a Vita coffee. And it has vitamins in it, vitamin Bs. It has turmeric. It tastes like coffee. And then what I do is I steep it in my French press. Because, you know, I'm at my ex's house. So I use my French press. I make it in the evening before. Then I put it in the fridge. I keep my coffee, my mock turmeric coffee in the fridge. It's cold. And then in the Rizing, I make my boba. I put the boba at the bottom. I pour in my coffee. I use this amazing non-dairy keto creamer. It's really good with like MCT oil. And then I just put a drop in it. I don't like a little milky. It came out a little milky just because I had put a little too much. I put a little ice in it and I shake that sucker up. Look at it. I love it. Okay. Someone who does the timestamp, I'm going to start the conversation now. All right, let's get into it. I like my coffee black, Gio, when I'm in Brazil. Big up to my Brazilian, bom dia to my Brazilians. I like in Brazil, I like my coffee black because we do a lot of espresso. In France, I like my coffee black. But here in the States, I like a little bit, a tiny bit of creamer, just to give it that softer taste. But when I'm abroad, I usually drink it black. Okay, so let's get in the conversation. So y'all, as I said, yesterday equals tomorrow. And today is really all there is. The time construct of the matrix is collapsing. Time is an illusion. It's only utilized here in this density to give a solidification of matter. So in order for us to have these beautiful trees, this beautiful, you know, skin, this tangibility, you need time. Time gives you the solidification, the matter. It creates matter. Okay? But right now, if you notice, if many of you notice, unless you're in Atlanta, the only time I noticed that time was really slow is when I was in Georgia. Big up to my Georgians, my big Atlanteans, big up to my Atlanteans. Time is speeding up. We're going through a quickening because it's collapsing. And also because what used to take a week is, okay, so remember back in the days you felt like, oh my gosh, it's so long. Like we'd sit in class, we're like, oh my gosh, when the time is so long, it takes forever. Now you aren't having that. It almost seems like you aren't getting enough. Hey, Jose. It makes it seem like there isn't enough time because what used to be a week is now a day. Well, yes. Around what used to be a week is around 48 hours. Okay? So when you're going through your and I don't want to use the word week because week means week. When we're going through the days of the, you know, the days of whatever, you aren't having as much time because when the collapsing of time is happening, it's a convergence. So what you're experiencing is a quickening. So there isn't ever enough time. It seems like you don't have enough time. It's like even when all the birds, like we were talking about this on Zoom, all the birds are singing at like 2 a.m. in the Rizing. Why are birds tweeting at 2 a.m.? Everyone's circadian rhythm is off. Everyone's circadian rhythm is off. So now, because time is quickening, we're going through a quickening and a collapsing of the time construct. As you raise in densities, time becomes less of a factor. But because time becomes less of a factor, you also have to take in consideration that things become less tangible. Things become more dreamy. You know what I mean? So you may notice that as you walk through the days, everything seems dreamy. Everything seems like it isn't real, like you're walking in a dream state. It's because this holographic illusion realm is condensing, collapsing, and converging, and we're waking up. Now, waking up to some may mean, you say to yourself, FleurBrun, what do you mean waking up? Where are we waking up to? I still this is just my feeling. My feeling is that we are in some sort of simulation and hologram because we're in some sort of cryo state. I still have the concept that wherever we are physically, our physical bodies are in a cryo state somewhere, and the layers of awakening have to happen in this way in order for our brains not to overload when we wake up on the ship or we wake up in another realm. Okay, to get a better concept of this, I want you to watch Inception. Inception is very difficult for some people to watch, but watch Inception. It's layers of awakening. So let's say we were in a cryo state. Let's just, for icks and giggles, let's say we're in a cryo state in a ship, right? If many of you are Trekkies, all of you pretty much are like big galactic people because you probably watch a lot of scientific movies. You watch movies on you know, about Star Trek and you know, Doctor Who and what else? Whatever spacey movies you watch. Matrix, right? So you'll see the people in this kind of like sarcophagus, right? This cryo chamber where they're sleeping and they're all dreaming, right? So they're dreaming. And in that dream state, they think it's real because they're unaware that they're on a ship or they're in a cryo state and that they're just in that state to keep them sedated until they complete their traveling. Sometimes the traveling goes many, many years. And in order for them to refrain from aging or being affected by that traveling, they have to be in a protective state. Okay, so that's why they put them in a cryo chamber in order to preserve the body, to allow for the consciousness to stay kind of in a sedative state until they awaken. So now I personally think we are arriving now. We were discussing this last night, and many of you also understand that they're always talking about the new earth, right? They're like, oh, there's going to be two earths. There's going to be a split. There's going to be there's the earth, the second earth and the first earth. Why I think they state that as anymore is because where we're existing, this is an earth. This is a holographic projection. It is a simulated earth. It's made to look like earth. It's terraformed to have the beautiful, you know, the greenery of what we perceive as earth, but it isn't earth. How do you know we're in a simulation? Because thoughts are things. You ever think of something and then all of a sudden it shows up in your it's happening more and more now because time is condensing and converging. So, you know, when you think of something right now and then all of a sudden it shows up in your phone, it shows up out there. Like I can think about something, I'll think about a person and it's because we're living in a energetic simulation. So thoughts are things. So we're actually co-creating our world all the time. That means that this isn't a real world. If you're simulating it, you would have an energetic impulse and it will project into your reality. So that's how I know this isn't real. If it was real, you wouldn't have such energetic influence on your world. It wouldn't be so, you know, almost like Harry Potter-ish. You know what I mean? So that being said, I personally know that we're in some sort of, whether it's, when I say no, I know we're in some sort of cryo state. Meaning we're in a sarcophagus somewhere, we're in some sort of encasement, and the layers of awakening are happening. So that's why you're having this, the time construct is now quickening because we're getting closer to waking up. Whether we're and it's going to be really crazy when we do wake up because remember, the first tier of extraction happens in March. And a whole, it was March, it was in China, a whole plane disappeared. Okay. Remember I said they told me that the first extraction would be in March and it did happen with the whole plane disappearing. So did the plane really disappear or did that host or did all those people wake up on the ship? So what is it? My skin, look, sorry y'all. My skin, when I get a lot of sun, it looks amazing. I'm grateful. It like, look at my skin. I was like, wow, I got all this like amazing sun kiss on my face. Anyway. So what is happening now is all of the time stamps are collapsing. All of the different timelines are collapsing on top of each other. So you may be waking up and having super duper Mandela effects. Like we were talking about it last night. Does anyone remember? This will be fun to ask you guys. Do you guys remember the Publishers Clearinghouse, please put a 1 if you remember the Publishers Clearinghouse when you were younger. Like you would go, your parents would go to the mail, Publisher Clearinghouse. They would send you these envelopes, like all this colorful stuff. You had to do all this stuff to win. You could win millions of dollars. And what's his name? Oh, I forgot, the guy would come to your house and he was going to award you the check. Look at all of you remember. Now, oh my gosh. So, but guess what? Edmund Mann would come to your house, remember? Go and look it up. You can't find it. They're saying it's not real. It never happened. Edmund Mann, right? All of you remember it. Go look it up. They say that it never happened. They're saying there wasn't any clearinghouse. It never existed. But all of us here remember the Publisher Clearinghouse. So you say to yourself, I'm sorry. So you say to yourself, how could we all have this memory? And then all of a sudden, magically one day, they're saying it isn't real. It isn't, it's fake. There's no record of it. But there was a young lady on TikTok who had one fact checker. It was just one in the Golden Girls. The Golden Girls, remember the Golden Girls back in the days? One where she referenced, one of the Golden Girls referenced on the phone, oh my God, the clearinghouse, I want to win, and Edmund Mann is going to come to my house. Only one reference. Everything else has been wiped away. Why do I use this as an example? As the convergence of time collapses, the different timelines, the different dimensions kind of fold onto each other, certain realities will be stronger and will hold in your memories. Others will just basically fold underneath it and they won't have as much tangibility to you. The concept of Mandela effects is basically just the convergence of timelines, and whatever is more domineering and what has more collective strength will hold. Now, when that is hijacked by the Dark Kabbalists, they may want certain memories to be something that you don't have. I think with the Edmund Mann and the whole Publisher Clearinghouse, there was something that they don't want us to remember about that. So they basically scrubbed the timelines to make sure that you wouldn't have a collective, even if we have a collective memory of it, there wouldn't be any documented facts to back up that collective memory. That's when you know they're tampering with the actual collapse. Usually the collapse is whatever's more domineering in the collective memory will hold, and anything else that is more sublime will fold. So whatever isn't as strong will fold, and whatever's stronger in the collective memory will shine. But now all of the timelines are collapsing. And remember, we're going through a perpetual loop. So the loop is about to close. And remember, we talked about the looping, and that if, a lot of these Dark Kabbalists, and this is what I say, not everybody here is the same. And you have these kind of parasitic entities that are that for some reason have gotten into the collective structure we call the matrix, and they are in here as a parasite, and they are perpetually creating these types of illusions of pain, fear, giving these imprints of negativity to feed, because they're energetic, some kind of like nano, maybe they're nano types of parasites, maybe they're in here. So you do have these entities that are incepting our subconscious state, because I don't think this is real. So they're in here, and they're also causing these types of negative imprints of things being generated out here to keep us distracted, and also to keep us locked into the hologram. Because remember, they only exist if we're here. It's the kind of concept of, if a tree falls in a forest and we're not there, does it really fall? If we aren't here to perpetuate their projections, they're constant bombarding us with whatever themes, negativity, death, sadness. If we aren't here to be their mirror to what they want us to emit, to project out and create in reality, they won't really exist. They only exist because we're here projecting things in order for them to feed. Parasites can only exist if they can feed. if we aren't feeding them, um, there isn't what any way they survive. They're kind of like I said, there are parasitic types of entities existing in this matrix. So they're not the only ones, but I noticed that right now, over the last, I mean, maybe around, yeah, loosh, right, all out, maybe in the last month or so, many of you should be experiencing, you might be experiencing some form of infiltration in your dream state that normally isn't there. You will notice that when you're in your dream state, that, hold on, that in your dream state, there is some sort of like a parasite that's coming in. Remember, I don't want to get into this. There was a parasite that came in a couple weeks ago. I won't get too specific because it was a little sexually deprived, but it was messing with the women's nipples. And it was, I don't know if it was feeding off of the breast, but the thing is, it was utilizing the women's breast to infiltrate. We were trying to figure out what it was. So there's entities that are coming in people's dreamscape now that I think because they put on this CERN, and again, we really don't know what CERN is. We can just, I think that CERN is opening up vortexes and portals, but if it's doing that, it's letting these entities in. I don't know if you ever watched Ghostbusters. Remember the Ghostbusters? And there was a point where the portals were opened and all under New York City. Remember that ectoplasm underneath the city? That pink ectoplasm? It was like portals were opening. Remember, ghosts were popping out of the subways. Remember, Zool was in the refrigerator? That was so funny. It was really corny. If you want to watch it for our young people, if you want to watch, if you watch a really, I mean, it's corny to you right now, but watch, Ghostbusters. You get a concept of when the portals open, and remember, everything was like underneath the city, and that ectoplasm was being affected by people's emotions. So when there was negative emotions, the plasma was really kinetically charged with negativity, and it promoted that and it emitted that. And then it was positivity, the ectoplasm had like a positive, like danced around. So it's kind of like the concept, maybe I say, I don't really know. I think CERN is opening up portals, and that's why some of us were having these types of entities attaching to us in the dreamscape. Like I don't want to go too deep. Like I said, there was an entity that was moving stuff around the house that I was in last time. It was doing things. It was physically talking to me. I mean, I haven't had anything that tangible, and it wasn't like a poltergeist. Remember, poltergeists have a certain way that they interface too, but it wasn't like a poltergeist. This was a little different. This was something that was stronger. It had more motivation. It had more tangibility. So it made me think that whatever CERN opened, it released some sort of conscious types of beings. These beings are not just like passive ghosts that are stuck between the layers of like conscious, of death and life. These were conscious beings. So my dogs, what's interesting about the dogs? The dogs didn't react to it. That's what was crazy about it. The dogs hadn't any reaction to them. If I had cats, I wonder, cats are more cats see through layers because they have those reptilian eyes. Cats, I think, would have been more reactive. My dogs didn't. So it was moving around the house and the dogs weren't reacting to it. But I also think that we were talking about that too. The shots that they're giving the dogs, everything, hindsight is 2020. All dogs are like vaccinated, and I started to watch all the dogs remember, I had dogs my whole life. The dogs are all acting weird. Like, the dogs are acting, they're not acting the same. I had dogs. Remember Murphy Lee? Many of you know me for years, Murphy Lee and Sheena. Rest in power to Murphy Lee and Sheena. Many of you used to see my videos with Murphy Lee and Sheena. They used to act a little more normal. These dogs aren't the same. Now they're protective, Fi and Babette. You see them? There's Fi, there's Babette. You see them? They're sweethearts and everything, but cats are more reactive to changes in the influxes of energy. They see through the layers of things. Dogs, your dogs are awesome. My dogs didn't react to the being around, which made me think that the entity could be another aspect of self too. Because again, let's go into Doctor Strange. Did everybody see Doctor Strange? Please put a like on the video if you're up for the shenanigans today. Did everyone see Doctor Strange? I'm not going to do too many. I don't want to break the, I don't want to do any spoilers if not everybody. Okay. Remember in Doctor Strange when, what was she, what was she called again? The red dragon? What was she called again? I forgot the lady. And she wanted to go, remember she had multiple timelines. She saw herself with children. What's her name again? The Scarlet Witch, okay. She saw all these different parallels with her children. And she attempted to go hijack one of her timelines with herself, with the altered self in another timeline. And she possessed the body of herself in another timeline. That was freaky. Now, why that was freaky? Because you have to understand. I think many of you remember when I was being contacted by another version of myself in another timeline. Let me state this because I have to put this out here. Because when some people who don't know me will think that I'm crazy, I will say I'm drug-free. I'm now coffee-free. I don't drink. So I'm rational. Because people be like, she's high as a kite. I'm sober. Always been like that. You know, I have children. So fortunately and unfortunately, I'm sober all the time. Okay. But why does that matter? Because a couple of years ago, I think many of you remember, I was saying I was getting emails from myself. And the emails were also responding to other people. And it had the marker 1969. I think, how many years was that, y'all? Some of you have been with me for a while. So it's 2015, I think it was happening. I think it was 2015. So 2015, I was getting emails from myself. It was responding to me. It was showing me pictures. It was wild. And it was doing this. And then I had 1969 just bombarding me all the time, like back to back to back. So there was another version of myself that was aware of the quantum field. And it was actually utilizing that quantum field to contact me and also respond to other people in my email. It was bugged out. She hasn't done that for a while. But also remember, I was getting the stigmata. We were looking at the stigmata last night that was on my arm. And we also realized that the stigmatas on my arm were rune shapes. I didn't ever think that they would be runes. I'm sorry, I'm chewing this bub in my mouth. So remember, I get stigmatas on my body. It just showed up. The one on my hand that was really freaky that showed up. I was talking to my girlfriend Kim on the phone, and it just showed up underneath my skin. And then I was trying to rub it off, and it was just red. And then it just disappeared as quickly as it came in. But we found out that the shapes were runes. So, and it looked like someone's writing on my skin from inside out. There are other entities that are, why do I bring this up? Because the witch, the in Doctor Strange, the other version of the witch when she was in other realms, she could interface with the other ones. The other ones weren't as enlightened as her. They weren't as awake as her. They weren't as higher in consciousness. So we always assume because we're conscious that we're the highest form of the other versions of ourselves. And I will tell you, we aren't. We are a version, but there are versions that are lower and there are versions that are higher. And when the higher versions contact, so the higher version of FleurBrun, who's way more conscious, has more abilities, she contacted me. And she was contacting me via putting things on the skin that would manifest in my physical body here. And the same thing in the movie, but the difference is she wasn't trying to possess me. At least I don't think she was. But in the movie, Doctor Strange, that other timeline version wanted to take over the life of one of the other timelines. So in order for her to do that, because she couldn't occupy the same space at the same time physically, she had to possess her other self. It was really freaky Because remember, if you go into the same timeline physically, it'll cause some sort of like it's a what is it called, a what is it called, it's not a vortex, it causes a, it's like an explosion. If you aren't able to enter into the same space physically, because it'll cause a influx. It's like some sort of flux. So you, both of you might implode. A rift or something like a ripple. It'll cause a problem. A paradox. That's what it is, a paradox. So you aren't able to do that. But what she did is she possessed her other body and violated the other timeline self. It was really interesting, but I personally know that we've got to be mindful too, because when other entities were coming in our dreamscapes, I want you each to pay attention, because remember, we aren't the highest on the food chain of consciousness. And if the others in our other timelines aren't as, I don't want to judge positive or negative, because that's just kind of like, that's just, it's not righteous. If the other version of yourself on the higher tiers is dark or more manipulative or has less integrity, they could utilize the fact of you being of a lesser conscious state and attempt, especially if they're effing up their world. Like, let's say in their timeline, they just all kinds of greasy. Could you imagine the other version of yourself causing all kinds of riff, causing problems, going to get arrested? So what are they going to do? They're going to try to jump ship. And because they're aware of the convergence right now, who's to say that they wouldn't try to merge with another version of themselves that isn't in the I know, Frida, I'm crazy. Imagine the other, because you already know the FleurBrun and the other. You already know how I get down here. Could you imagine how I am on the other realms? Especially if I'm much more conscious. Oh, I'm probably all kinds of, I don't know. But the other version of myself contacted me and was responding to people on my email. So why do I mention this? As the time construct begins to converge, and all the other timelines can tend to come to overlap, the other versions of yourself will come to you. So also, as a reminder, let me just chew this. Please put a like on the video if you're for shenanigans where I chew this tapioca. Timeline shenanigans, I love it. Okay, so what if when we're converging with our other selves? But what if the other self doesn't want to give up her position? What if she doesn't want to merge with us? Let's say she says she's judging you or he's judging you. Say, I want to merge with them low field. Maybe they judge you. I don't want to converge with you, low field consciousness. I don't want to merge with you. So I'm going to just try to get rid of you, or I'm going to infiltrate your body or your mind now so I can keep dominion over you. It's like a short term, it's kind of like possession. But you're being possessed by another version of yourself. I'm just saying we got to be mindful of that, because that is a plausibility. Everything that we see or are aware of can be possible. So we also have to make sure we know ourselves. So like I said, do you know yourself? Do you know how you think? Possession is, we don't really get into possession all that much. All of the occultist people into really hyper religious people know about that. Possession is real. And if you watch Get Out, you realize you can go into the sunken place. So if something wants to take dominion over you, especially now when we're being bombarded by constant radiation and gamma radiation and just overwhelmed with all this monkey balls, cucarachas, false flags, your immune, your auric immune system is being bombarded. And if it gets too depleted, like it becomes more compromised, then it is easier for things to kind of like connect to the outside of your auric field and start to sit on it long enough to kind of like permeate into it. And sometimes what they'll do it's like in the beginning of possession is they'll puncture, like especially if you have holes in your auric field, that's from like drinking, doing drugs, having dark sex, doing, things that kind of compromise your auric field. Things will get on you and piggyback, and they'll utilize those holes to put like these little, almost like tentacles, and get into your mind so they can further lower it. That's why depression and all that stuff, that's a parasite. I always say when you're getting really depressed, or you feel like, if you're feeling really low out of the blue, it's a form of infiltration a lot of times. Something is getting in there and utilizing that your auric compromised, state to be able to further, feed into that and break it down. So you got to know yourself. You know what I mean? You know what you like. Like if all of a sudden you start having dark thoughts or thoughts of things that you normally don't, you have to say to yourself, where is that coming from? If it isn't me, like if I know what I like or what I normally do, where is that coming from? Why is this other thought coming? And now sometimes you can have, like I said, you can have thoughts come like new, refreshed, unique, like be creative. Creative people have thoughts coming from different places. But what if those, who is that? Oh, there's an alien in here, y'all. What language is that? Does everyone see that? Is this one of the alter selves? I can't read the language. Can someone get that? Can someone take a shot of that? Someone take a screenshot, because they're gonna, that looks like Hebrew. Where's Yafi? Yafi, is that Hebrew that this person has in there? Yafi, can you do me a favor? Look up at the person who has yellow. That doesn't look like, that looks like Hebrew in reverse. Can you tell me what they're saying, Yafi? Did someone get the Mossad? Is that what that is? Did someone can someone take a picture of it before it disappears? I think we have an alien in here, y'all. The others. Okay, I think the other is here, y'all. Hold on. We got someone in here. Hold on. Only Yafi can, if she can read the Hebrew. Yafi, is that Hebrew? Thank you, Frida. You got it? Yafi, is that Hebrew? Because it looks odd. I remember I studied Hebrew, but that looks a little like it's inverted. She said it says the Mossad. Hold on. Let's see what Yafi says. There they go. They go. Oh, wait, they changed it. They're using Islamic. Is that Sanskrit? They're changing it. Take another picture. Oh, you're a funny creature, aren't you? Who are you? And that's Arabic. They might be messy. Is this a troll? Are you from another timeline? Let's see where they're from. Being, where are you from? Just block them? Danny, no, sometimes we're up for the shenanigans, Danny. If you don't know, we're up for the shenanigans. Listen, I got time for it today. Let's see. Remember, whenever we're having this conversation, you must understand and understand that there are beings. Oh, that's what it says, Mossad for intelligence and special missions. Well, let me put it out here. If you are for the shenanigans, it's all good to be here. But if you are nefarious and you are bringing darkness, or you are trying to infiltrate this platform, I rebuke you, I reverse it, and I send it right back to you. Times 13. So it's all good and good if you aren't negative, but if you are, right back at you. Anyway, so let's get back in topic. I just saw it and it triggered my mind when I saw it. Oh, they were speaking English at first, I thought? I don't know what they were speaking. I just saw it and had the yellow in there. Remember the yellow brick road? I'm following the yellow brick road. When I saw the yellow, I just wanted to know. Anyway, so yeah, it's probably a troll. So the timeline is collapsing. the other beings, the other versions of yourself. And I don't know if you saw Spider-Man. Some of you have little people. My little ones also said, wait, it said the Institute of Intelligence Special Functions. Yo, I told you, y'all, the neighbors that were next door, they're working for Dark Ops. They were stalking me. It could be them. But I rebuke them. And every time they mess with me, my people, my Andromedan people mess with them. Okay. So the other versions of yourself are collapsing upon you. And we also have to realize, because the collapse is occurring, we can also take advantage of the other. Oh, wait. Huh. No, come here. Sit down. Hold on, y'all. My dogs woke up at it. Sit down. Sit down. Hold on. The mailman is here, and I'm gotta make sure my doggies behave themselves. Hold on. He's staying there too long. Hold on, y'all. Okay, sorry about that. I had to make sure my doggies will go buck wild if the mail person comes over here. Okay, so so we're talking about the convergence, time elapsing, time's quickening, the quickening that's occurring right now. As the quickening is occurring, we have to really know that we can also take advantage. We aren't victims in this time structure, this holographic experience. There aren't any. Wait, somebody said something. Translation came from Google Translate. It was Arabic. Okay. Special Function Institute. Well, I think that's the Dark Cabals. I actually think that's my neighbors that were stalking me. The fact that it said that, it made me think that's my neighbors. See, the neighbors don't realize that intuition is the one thing that women and some men who are very in tune with themselves, we have. So when I saw it, it triggered me to look. And then as I further, I'm kind of like ingesting what was there. It's the neighbors that was, remember the weird guy I showed you that he looked like a demon? That's him. I could feel it. It's him. So let me explain something, you dark demons. You only are as functionable as what you attach to, because you're a parasite. You're a parasite. You don't even have any validity in the world. You have to attach to others because you're nothing. You have a lack of consciousness. You have a lack of spirituality. You haven't a soul. So only reason you come here is because you want to feed of something else, because you don't have anything. You need to go and crawl underneath that hole that you came from. You need to go into your dark, low, muddy pre-existence and go back there. Because you do know, Dark Ops, that you only have a short period of time. I'm going to send you back to where you came. So you could do what you do, but just know when you go into the arena of those who are higher conscious, you are only going to you're only going to meet your demise a lot quicker. You could do, like I said, you could do what you do, but if you come in platforms like this, or you come around people like myself, you're bringing harm to yourself and those you love. I mean, I just think that you should be a little more mindful. Remember, there's a reason why I'm able to do what I do. Do you? Anyway, it is what it is. Some people don't learn. Anyway, so let's get into it. So the fact of the matter is, let's go into our empowerment version of this. For everything that we think that can utilize us, we can utilize them. That's why we took back the 13. That's why we know that the black cat is a powerful symbol. We can utilize everything that they utilize for our own benefit. So the fact of the matter is, the timeline converging, because we are conscious, we can also take some of the amazing amenities from the other higher conscious realms. So as the convergence happens, it's almost like you see something else higher and you could grab it and bring it here. So as we converge and you see that we're converging and you understand and understand that as the convergence happens, there's lower versions of yourself and there's higher versions of yourself. But with the higher versions of yourself, there are things in their world that are useful to you, that you aren't having in this particular density, in this particular timeline. And what you can do by utilizing mudras and also using old Gaelic language and different types of drum beats, utilizing the old drum beats that kind of bring in that frequency. Anything that you do, you can bring in that higher frequency. And once you get that higher frequency, when you see it, you grab it and you bring it into your realm. So this is a time also to understand and understand that you aren't a victim. And if you understand and understand that there are other realms, there's other versions of you that don't even know this exists, but you know it exists. So that being said, you can utilize this time with the convergence to take what you need and grab it. And it's like a grab, you know what I mean? Just like they do things in our realm, we could do the same in there. Okay. So, and also you can access the other version of yourself. Like I said, the higher version of FleurBrun contacted me. She wasn't, gratefully, she wasn't hurting me, but I'm saying she contacted me to let me know she existed. And as I know that she exists now, also, you know what? I wrote her one time. I know it's crazy. Because I wasn't as high as she was at the time. Because remember, her consciousness superseded mine. So I remember responding to her email. And I never got a response, but I was able to do it. I need to do that again. Okay. So the other versions of yourself, you need to but be careful, because if you have a little bit of a shadowy personality, you must know that the other version of yourself may be the same. And you hope that they have integrity, because if you start contacting them and they're nefarious and they know that you exist, it's kind of like it's like a double-edged sword. You kind of feel it out a little bit. You remember Yafi? It was wild. So you kind of have to feel it out. Because if you go into their realm and you make them alert, alarm that you, not alarm, but you let them know that you know, you got to be ready. You got to be ready. You know what I'm saying? Because you've been learning Gaelic. Oh, Nicole, we went on a whole thing with the runes and the Gaelic language. Listen, y'all, because you know the Gaelic language, the Hebrews hijacked the Gaelic, the whole, the Gaelic genre. The Hebrews hijacked all that, and they took it and they stole it, and that's why they have like some of the language and stuff that is a kind of like they've utilized those tools and symbols for, for their own benefit. So you can take that back. So remember, in that time, the Gaelic language, along with the runes, you can utilize that along with African beats. Because remember, the little pygmies that were there from Africa, but they weren't really from Africa. They were from Africa, but they entered into Ireland and Scotland via the inverted rainbow. We talked about this a while ago. The whole concept of the leprechauns that wear gold. It was the little pygmy Africans. Oh, there they go again. Can someone get that? That's the neighbors again. Can someone shot that? Wait, hold on. Let me get the screenshot of them. The neighbors are writing again in another language, y'all. I got them. Okay. I got it. Thank you. Thank you, Yafi. Yafi got them out. Sorry. We won't let you have any shine, y'all. You can't come in here. If you can't write to us and keep it real, then now he's talking Russian, yeah, because he's a troll. Yeah. It's the neighbors. I know who you are. And you're like, they're probably like, how does she know? Because I'm conscious. Okay. I'm aware. It's not even conscious. I'm just hyper aware. Okay. So, what was I saying? Oh, the Gaelic language. So if you take, remember the leprechauns were these little African pygmies that used to come from the inverted rainbow from the inner earth? Because remember, the inner earth had access to, all point references. And also you have to realize the Irish and the Scottish were the most demonized in Europe and dominated by the English. And because they were very mystical. Remember, the biggest contactees, the number one contactees, are the Irish by the Pelagians. Is the Irish, the Cherokee, and the Aboriginal. They all come from a similar bloodline. Let me state this again. It's the Aboriginal, the Irish, and I think the Scotties are in there. I think it's just kind of bled, it's kind of mixed with the Irish. The Scotties, the Irish, the Cherokee, and the Aboriginals are all kin to what I know are the Pelagians, because they have the records. And all that Gaelic language is very similar to some of the old types of verbal communication that some of the ancient native groups in Australia and also in North America with the Cherokee. So it's very interesting that right now, if you start to speak the Gaelic language, use your mudras, and also start to utilize the drum beats, you're going to permeate into different realms. So we kind of talked about it on Zoom. I don't want to overwhelm you a little bit, but it's absolutely pertinent that you start to learn or remember. I shouldn't even say learn. Remember the ancient tongues. The ancient tongues, like Sanskrit, like we're starting to remember those ancient tongues. And when you speak those languages, it just literally opens up your cellular memories. And then you have access to those higher realmed bits of information that you can utilize to, basically deal with whatever's coming. Remember, every ancestor that existed on this earth plane, you have in you. So everything that they went through, everything that they've experienced, everything that they were good at, everything that they had advantage to, any gifts they had, any sort of things, training, you have it in you. But the problem is that because of the mass amount of shots that children get from birth, it locks those codes up and you aren't able to access them. That's why you go in places like in Africa, the children remember themselves, or you go in certain places back in the days in like Asian countries or European countries that they don't have that heavy shot up, the shots. And those children are listen, you'll hear them speak languages their ancestors used to speak. And there isn't anyone who taught them that. They're able to speak. Remember the little girl? I think y'all remember this. And this is a while ago. Where was she? Was she Indian? Was she from India? I think she was Indian. I think her family was from India. And she spoke, it was either that or was she, I forgot. I think she was Indian. She spoke like 20, 30 languages, ancient languages. Just, they didn't understand how she was able to do it. No one taught her. She just started speaking languages and she could communicate. So every language that probably was in her cellular memories, for some reason, it wasn't blocked or muted. And she was able to speak it and understand it. There's a big difference. They couldn't understand why. And you don't hear much about her. It was years ago. I think this was like 3 or 4 years ago. They mentioned her. She was on a show, and I've never heard anything about her since. Because, they locked that down. They don't want you having access to that. Okay? So when you speak your native tongues, that's why I say all the time, though most of us speak English, English is a bastardized, a very spelled language. It is a ritualistic language. It is a language that is created phonetically to lock your codes. So by speaking the English language, we are spelling ourselves. Listen to the words. Listen, you're using the word blessed it means be less. You call yourself black, you're be black. You utilize things like welcome, you're letting things in. You utilize the words week, you're going through a weekday, you're weak. I mean, every single bit of the language is spelled, and it's dark. So it's meant to, that the English language is meant for enslavement, mental enslavement. It was created for that reason. That's why it's got all these different spells and sigils all in there, the language. Okay? So it's crazy. Be careful initiating those spells. Now, if you understand how to utilize it, then you can utilize it for the way that they utilize it. So, you know what I mean? Cursive. Yeah, cursive. Cursive. It was wow. It is really, really diabolical. So it's good to learn your ancient tongue. So a lot of times, like when I go places, well, you know, many of you know, French is my first language. And French has all European languages has rituals, but if you start utilizing old African, like I do something naturally that I don't know where it came from. And when I dance, I always go, yeah, 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 yeah. I do it naturally. When I'm excited, it's like, you know, I always say the women of Africa, like the dogs came out, Africa, and from, remember, you know, from, what you call it, from, it's all Africa, from the Middle East. The Middle East is Africa. So I say Africa, it's all Africa. Okay. So when I go, for some reason, I always do, I go, yeah, 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 yeah. When I'm excited, I always do it. It's a default. I've done it from a little girl. That's that's a memory in my cells. So I automatically do, so I do certain things that come from ancient types of things, or like some people like to click all the time. You ever see children you meet, and children like even with children, like little babies. You ever see babies that go? That's memory of ancient ways of communicating or clicking. Like things like that. These are sometimes ancient ways that we used to communicate that we still do. Clicking, like people who go like this, you know, in the Caribbean, or Caribbean people go, you know, they suck their teeth, sucking their teeth. That's an ancient way of communication. We still do things that our ancestors did. We don't realize it, but we do. Babies do it more so than anyone. So we have to make sure that we utilize our old ancient tongues in order to activate certain things, especially now with the convergence and time collapsing. You have access to all of that information and all of who you were. So by utilizing certain languages, like I said, for the Gaelic language, and for those using the Bantu languages, the old African Bantu languages, the clicking, the tongue rolling, those are all ancient ways to communicate, or the guttural, like doing stuff like that. That's all ancient ways of communication. When you do it, when you speak, because remember, we have all the ancestors in us. So let's say my ancestors spoke French here, right? French is the last language that my ancestors spoke before they spoke English. Then before that, they speak Spanish and Portuguese too. So they speak Portuguese and Spanish, a lot of the Latin languages. So when I hear Latin languages, it's very easy for me to feel connected to it because I have ancestors that spoke it. So when I hear, like, you know, we have family in Panama, because remember, before our family had migrated from South America into the Northern America, they were in French Guyana. Big up to my Guyanese, French Guyana, and also at the tip of Northern Brazil. So whenever I heard Portuguese, it was very familiar to my body when I hear it. When I hear French, it's very familiar. When I hear the clicking people, I would hear clicker people, and I would feel connected to their clicking. Like, I would feel connected to the clickers. So I know that in my gene pool, I have a connection to it. The Gaelic language sounds familiar. And, you know, as the updates in my, you know, ancestry, I did ancestry years ago when it wasn't popular. Remember, I worked in heredity, so I had somebody else do it. I would hear the Gaelic language, and I was like, that sounds familiar to me. And then when someone did an update on my genealogy, because I have mostly native because I'm mixed with the Taino, the Arawak, and the Carib. Why I bring the two is because they're cousins. So I'm a combination of the Taino, Carib, and the Arawak. You know, so some of you saw my one of my ancestors the on my IG. So I have mostly native, but the European and African in me, I have 11% Scottish, which was just revealed. So now I understood why I had a connection to the Gaelic language. I didn't understand. I was like, why would I have a connection to the Gaelic language? But then when I found out that I have 11% Scottish in me, then it made sense. I was like, oh my gosh, because I would hear certain Celtic music and feel like something in me recognized it. I would hear it. I would hear the women sing like Celtic music. Like I would go inside, you know, some spiritual stores, and I would hear it. And I would hear, and it would make my spine tickle. I was like, why do I feel connected to that? Because in my gene pool, that 11% of Scotty, big up to the Scottish in here, it just, I had a memory of it. Just like certain African drums. When I hear certain African drums, ba, 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 my soul feels it. I recognize the drum beat because I feel the connection to it. I feel connection to the drums of the Bantu people from Benin. I feel it in my soul. I feel it in my heart. So I feel a connection to all of my ancestors. That's why it's good to have, if you ever want to trigger memories and you know that you're blocked by shots, it's good to go to, and the Boniqua's over here. Here you go, Taino. All my Taino family is in here. Taino, we generally have a very similar, like when we hear the bongos, or when I hear the bongos, like ba, 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 like the fast bangos, my whole body reacts to it. And the steel drums is very, like remember, the Taino, the Carib, and the Arawak were cousins. We're all one. We come from, our tribes were family. So we were all in the Caribbean, and most of us came down from South America. So we have a very big connection to the bongos. So in Cuba, and in Puerto Rico, in Haiti, in Dominican Republic, in Martinique, the drum beat is big for Caribbean people. Like when we hear it, it's and you'll know that we're the same people because of the way our bodies move. When we hear the music, we automatically have an automated response to the bongos. Like we hear it and we like, bop, bop, bop. It's like, bop. Your body automatically reacts to it because it's a memory. It's a memory. So if you ever want to if you ever want to know who you are, because I know a lot of people say, I don't want to do the ancestry. I don't want them having my blood. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is hear the music of that place, and the memories will be triggered. If you hear the music of the place, so if you come from Nigeria and you hear a certain pattern of drums and singing and chanting, it will invoke memories in you. If you hear the beautiful like flutes or the Celtic, bells and sounds, like I said, I would get memories from hearing. I heard Gaelic. I was like, why would I know that? And then I got an update and in my genealogy, and I was like, oh my God, that, I always talk about the Scotties all the time. Now I realize because I have Scottish in my bloodline. So it's very interesting when you hear that, like if you hear German harps, yeah, or you hear music from certain places. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Natoya. What's your take on light language, which starts from the starts beginning remembered? Syrian, Andromedan, Lyrian, intergalactic language returning. The light language is a combination platter. I think it is a memory of galactic tongues. I do agree with you in that way. It's galactic tongues coming back, because remember, all languages in itself are purposefully on this particular planet or this hologram are engineered, because when we come from the other systems, that's why the light language seems like a combination of everything, a culmination, because when we come from the other places, we didn't speak. We didn't have any auditory. The auditory was forced. Most other realms, that's why I say when you look at the extraterrestrials from a lot of the different realms, they don't have mouths because they didn't utilize their mouths. They utilized this. That was their fullest, that was their main form of telecommunication. And if they did have sounds, it was like when they started to make sound, it was clicking, or like, you'll hear things like that, like clicking sounds, like weird kind of like harmonic sounds coming from the mouth. So I think light language is a convergence of the different galactic types of expressions. But at the core of it, we didn't speak at all. So like I said, if you look, they hide a lot of times. Where are my dogs? Oh, a lot of times with extraterrestrials, you'll notice they'll hide the fact that they didn't have mouths. The grays, true grays, real grays, don't have mouths. They won't show you that. They'll show the mouths. They'll show the mouths of the slit, because the altered grays have thin lips. Very thin lips, like slits in their face. It doesn't even look like lips. It's slits. Okay? Other groups that come from like water aquatic beings tend to have mouths like this. Like what we have here. Like mouths, like lips, mouths. A little bit like that. Like almost like fish a little bit. You know how fish go like this? Fish. Fish aquatics have mouths. So I think people who were from Syria, Sirius, places, aqua worlds, they have mouths, as far as I know. Oh, thank you. Thank you, my love. I was noticing my skin too. I was out in the forest. You see the different kind of tan I got? I was out in the forest. And I got this amazing tan in Pennsylvania. I don't even get this. I get it in Brazil sometimes, but thank you, Saki. I was like, wow. What else? What other beings have? I know the Syrians, the water beings, have mouths. Who else has mouths like that? A lot of beings don't have mouths, though. They don't. Let me think. The reptilians kind of have long. The reptiles tend to have longer, like, you know how the Joker, like this long kind of mouth? Reptiles, people with a lot of reptile have longer mouths, like longer, not so much pouty, but longer, right? I gotta think about that. Yeah. And also, you know, because, you know, some people, I remember back in the days, wider mouths. I remember back in the days, you know, anyone who's more aqua based doesn't have hair on their body. So someone who was saying, oh, you know, people who are primates, people who are primates who are related to more ape-like beings have a lot of hair on their bodies. So if you're more aquatic, you won't have hair on your body. So it's interesting, they call people apes. They'll always call a lot of people apes that are hairless. No, aquatic beings tend to be, listen, if you are more aquatic, you tend to be loftier, thicker. Because remember, what a lot of things in the water have a lot of blubber. They have a lot of layers, right, to keep them warm. So things that are more aquatic based tend to be thicker. And anything that's from the water tends to have no hair on its body. How many things in the water do you see have hair? Okay, so like, or frogs, anything that's amphibious, you know, the amphibians, they don't have hair on their body. So the people who are hairy, and I think M went into this, we went into all of the old what is it called? The old tapestries, all of the old paintings. You know that those people in those paintings that they hid actually were hairy. Why are they hiding a whole population of people that had hair all over their bodies? These people had hair all over their bodies. These were, you ever see Teen Wolf? Teen Wolf, you ever seen Teen Wolf? Okay. There was a whole population. There's a whole population. They hid all of those statues. Why are they hiding the hair? Listen, Harry Mary. we went into this on Zoom. There's a whole hairy population. Those are apes. Those are people mixed with more primates. If you're mixed with primates, complexion doesn't matter. Because complexion, you know, a lot of people say darker skinned people are are primates. That isn't true. If they were primates, first of all, primates have lighter skin underneath their hair. The point of you having hair on your skin would be to protect your skin. So if you are a primate, you have lighter skin under that hair. If you have darker skin, it's because your skin is your protection. So that's why darker skinned people don't require hair, because their melanin is a protectant against the gamma radiation. If you have lighter skin, it would make sense you would have to have hair on top of it to protect from all of the gamma radiation, because hair kind of mutes it. It's like, you know, it's like the trees. Okay. So anyone mixed with primates more so has hair. Like anybody with hair on their back, a lot of hair in their stomach, their arms, and so on. Those are more primate people. People who are have less hair on their bodies, those are more aquatic beings. Okay. That's why when you go into Africa, Africa has a lot of history with the mermaids, the mer people. And they call them their aquatic cousins. Do you ever hear that in South Africa? They were exchanging tools with them. You don't hear that over in this neck of the woods because they try to hide it. And it's interesting that when all that craziness that was going on about, remember for a while, remember I was on, I used to be on that show. She used to interview me all the time. Kendra, what's her name? What was their platform's name? Well, she was the one, Kendra was the one to let me know that there was this whole big Christian thing with Christianity in Africa, telling people, demonizing the aquatic spirits. And she showed me the first video and I was like, oh my God. I was like, what the heck is this? She showed me a whole video. And this is back in the days. Now I know it exists. But the whole African diaspora of Christianity was demonizing aquatic spirits. They were saying that brown people, Africans, were going into the dream worlds, going to meet their aquatic family, and that they were being possessed by them. I was like, what? So African spirituality and Christianity had been infiltrated to keep the African diaspora from connecting to their aquatic family. And it made sense because a lot of Africans, how many African people do you see with hair on their bodies? They're actually hairless. They don't have hair on your bodies. They're aquatic. They're more connected to the nomos. Remember the nomos remember the Twa people and the other people were talking about the nomos, the aquatic beings, the amphibian beings that they were connected to. They were water beings. So all those Africans, like when our sea stars, Crystal and Yolo, went to Benin, they went to Africa and they went by the waterways. All of the African people wouldn't go near the ocean because it had been demonized. They went to Africa and I was like, how come none of the Africans in the water? Oh, they were saying, oh, it's rough. I was like, what? I was like, wait a second. The whole beach was empty in Benin. No Africans would go to the water. And I was like, why are they demonizing the water to the Africans? Because there is a connection to Mami Wata, Yamiya, Yamiya. There's some connection to the African people and the water people. So they're trying to demonize it through Christianity to tell them to stay away from the oceans. And it's interesting that a lot of brown people have fear of the oceans. That is socially being engineered in their subconscious, so they aren't able to connect with their water family, their mer family. I know it's purposefully done because I don't even have to utilize just old myths and tales. I utilize genetics, and I also I understand genetics. And if you are hairless and you tend to be a little thicker, look at how people of color, especially, they got thicker thighs. What do mermaids have? If you take the fusion of women's thighs, that's what I'm saying. If you're mixed with mermaid, if you have that in you, you're going to have a thicker body frame and your thighs are going to be thicker, because back in the days, your thighs used to be fused. So do you ever look at the tails of fish? It's like two thick thighs. Okay. So if you're a mermaid, like, you most likely have a thicker frame and you have more girth to you, blubber, because if you're aquatic, that's how your body was made up. You're more water. You're able to be able to live in water and be warm. The oceans are cooler. So it makes sure you would have blubber. Look at the seals. Are the seals skinny? So when they show you the Little Mermaid and she's all thin, that doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make genetic sense. She would be thicker. She would be like the one they demonized. Remember the one that was stealing her voice? Oh, what's her name? The one that looked like a squid. What's her name? I forgot her name. They would be thicker like her. That's more that it's interesting they demonize that kind of thickness. Ursula, thank you, Ursula. They demonize her, but that's more what a being in water would look like. It would be a thicker, kind of blubbery kind of being. Look at the seals, look at the orcas, look at the dolphins. They're all blubbery. So anyone who's hairless, who has more thick body, your ancestors are closer to the aquatics. You're most likely Syrian or something. You know, Syrians, from what I understand, Sirius being all that, that's where a lot of these beings came from, they came from the aqua world, you know? And we're going back into the water world too, because the whole earth, listen, remember the firmament is melting. And I like to say that we're living in a snow globe. This realm is like a snow globe. So when all the holograms and the projections leave, that sucker, remember, like they said that, you know, when you see the age of Aquarius, but why is the age of Aquarius, if it's an air sign, why does the air sign, why is she pouring water down from a ladle down on earth? Because when that firmament opens up, all that, remember we talked about the whales swimming in the sky, squid coming from the sky, fish dropping out of the sky, because yo, we're inside of a firmament, and when they open up the oceans above, remember, as above so below, when they open up the oceans above, that sucker's gonna rain down water. There's a whole thing with Noah the Ark and all that stuff. The waters are gonna come down. It's already starting. There was a whole town that had fish falling out of the sky. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So I'm just saying, get right with water. So anybody who's you know, anybody who's more of an aquatic being, you might be, that's why you might be hearing more from the Eurisha. Yemiya, like when I was in Brazil, Brazil is obsessed with Mami Wata, with Yemiya. They love her. They have a connection to her more so than anything else. And when you go into the waterways, and I didn't have, like, you know, the one thing I say is I didn't have any, like, I went into the waters in Brazil, and you know, I go, like, we go early, and I would do like, yeah, 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 yeah. I was trying to call the mer people, but I hadn't had any I hadn't had any interface with any mermaids. And even though they worship, they do a lot of stuff with Yamiya. They send beautiful flowers into the water. But I hadn't had any interface. I did in Virginia Beach. Remember, I did have that whole thing with the connection with the dolphins. I felt like there was something going on in Virginia Beach. Remember, I went to the Edgar Cayce Institute and that whole thing happened at Virginia Beach. That was interesting. But I didn't have it in Brazil, even though Yemiya is everywhere. I didn't have the mermaid. And also in Brazil, even though they worship her, I don't, they didn't, I didn't hear anyone saying that they ever met her, like Mami Wata. I didn't hear it. So I don't know. I'm trying to think. I got to think for a minute. Did anyone tell me if they had? No. I didn't have anyone ever say that they had any connection or they saw any mermaids in Brazil. Did anybody from Brazil in here? I would have to ask our Brazilian family. Brazilian family, can you let me know if any of you, because I didn't. And I ask people, a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people in Brazil, but I don't know everybody. So it would be interesting, like Starbucks logo. Can anyone from Brazil let me know? Because again, that's the one country where you see tons of Yemiya everywhere. She's beautiful. I mean, it's so beautiful. It's beautiful, but it's not there. But I did hear there's two places that I've heard that they've seen the mermaid. In Scotland and Ireland. I think it was in Scotland. Scotland, I did hear that there were sightings there. I've heard of it. And also in upstate Maine. Remember, I have the picture. One of the sea stars went to Canada. It was in Canada. And they took a picture of a blonde, she had blonde, like the hair was like blondish and dark skin. It's on my Patreon. I'll bring the picture. I got to get the picture here. And it was, listen, one of the sea stars went to Canada. It was like a little town, like a fishing town. And they had it, and they showed the picture, the whole skeleton, the whole body. They actually had the actual skeleton, the whole body, and they actually were talking about it. And it was a dark melanated, like a brown but blonde hair. Because remember, I guess the bleach of the hair when they come up to the top, it was really bugged out. I have the thing. I gotta remember. Someone remind me to place the picture here, and I'll show you. Now, this wasn't somebody who's just on YouTube. No, it was somebody who was just traveling. The sea star may be on here. She was traveling through Canada, and she went to a little fish town, and they had the whole it might be in Nova Scotia. Yeah, was it Nova Scotia? It might be there. They had the whole story of this type of, it was a baby kind of, it was a young child, mermaid. Dark skin, blondish hair, thick bottom. That's why I know that those who have thicker thighs, that's more mermaid. But I've never seen anything like that, and I posted it to my Patreon. That was very interesting. So, in Canada, in where else? In obviously in South Africa, and in I think the Congolese have stories also. The Congolese, I don't know in Ghana, you guys didn't hear. I think the Congolese have stories of the mermaids. In Scotland, I know I've heard of it. In Canada, Nova Scotia, which I think you're correct, there. Costa Rica, did they say they've seen it? They have a statue. I'm talking about the witnessing, though. I haven't heard Haiti. Haiti maybe had it. Did Haiti, they had the baby was just born in Haiti. Did you guys see that? A baby was just born in Haiti. She was a mermaid. Did you see that beautiful picture of that beautiful baby? Did you see that? Did you see it, Kay? Kay, the beautiful baby that was just born? She's a baby girl. She had the fused legs. She's beautiful. I hope they're gonna detach her. I would love to see if she could swim in waters. They're gonna take her legs apart. Haiti has it all over. Okay, so Haiti has it as well. They have a mermaid. There's places, Ghana, do you have it in Ghana? There are sightings. Wherever you see sightings, that's where the mermaids are. So we should probably start to document where the sightings are. Like I said, in Brazil, I didn't see it. I was calling to them. I didn't feel her, even though they worship Yemiya, I didn't feel her in the waters. It was really weird. I didn't feel it. So any of my Brazilian family I would love to hear is Africa's, listen, the mermaids are all in Africa. I know it is because of all the Christianity that's demonizing, telling the Africans not to go to the waters because they don't want them to merge with their mer family. When I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh. All the stories you heard about the Nomos talking about their mer family and exchanging stuff in Africa. Africa has a whole bunch of stories of that. So we should probably look into it. Anybody who's living in those places, like in, like I said, in Africa, like South Africa, Ghana said they had it, Haiti, over in Canada, in Maine, also in Scotland, probably on the outskirts of Ireland. I know the Loch Ness Monster is in England. So if anybody's had the story, I would love to hear you share those things as well. I would love to hear. I just heard of stories in Scotland. I don't know Scotland that well, so I should probably get the actual towns, but it's by the coast. So I would love to, if I probably, what I'll do is I have to look at Loch Ness. It's in Scotland, the Loch Ness? Okay, so it's in Scotland. Yeah. And I think there's a hole in Scotland where the Loch Ness monster, well, I don't want to call it the monster, the Loch Ness dragon, because it's like a dragon, a water dragon, or a water serpent. I heard it's because there's an inner earth axis that it comes in and out of these caverns that are inner earth worlds where a lot of mermaids live. You're in Ireland, Scotland. Please, can you share LA? If you're in Scotland, see if there are places where there were documents of the mermaids. I know for a fact it was in definitely in Scotland because I used to hear stories about it. You know, there was a lot of really great channels that used to really go into the connection to the mermaids. But I also know in South Africa, y'all have tons of stories of interfacing with mermaids. Canada, please, or Canadians also, can you, Nigeria? I know Africa has tons of places where they are, especially on the coastlines. Greenland, I would love to hear that. You know what? We should probably do um a whole live on that. I think I did it a while ago, but we definitely need to refresh because really in itself, I think this is the time. Um, I think you guys are ready. Are you guys ready? I think this is a time we need to meet up with our water family because it's about to go buck wild. So I think if we can find out where they are, we can get a few of us to go in and see if we can make contact. I think men have to be a little careful because as far as I know, um, I think we got to be careful because, you know, you hear the stories of the sailors and the sirens, and the women like to eat the men. So I would say it would have to be females that would be able to contact the mermaids. Be careful, males, because I heard, I just, from all the, I mean, I could be wrong. Does anyone verify this? Most of the stories that we hear about the mer interface is it's female based and they eat men. Like they take them into the waters, they'll sing songs and they grab them and eat them. I'm sorry. I don't want to. I'm sorry, but that's what I heard. I don't know. I can't verify it though, and I don't want to bring men to be eaten. So I say the females. If could you imagine? Oh, they go over there thinking they listen to that Ariel story of the Little Mermaid, thinking that they could go over and talk to her, the men, and because these aquatic beings are very aware of males. So I just be. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. They go over. Oh, she's beautiful. I don't say they don't eat women, but every tale I heard, call it myths, I don't know. They always say that the mermaids have issue with males. Maybe because males are fishermen, maybe they have a bad history with the fishermen that go in there and fish and take, you know, and sometimes their babies get caught up. Maybe because mostly males, you know, mostly males are fishermen. So it could literally be their history with what they consider to be nefarious and nefarious aspect of the land people. And most fishermen are males. So I think it could be something. Yeah, they try to make it look like a sexy thing in Splash. You know, I like Splash. Yo, we should watch Splash, y'all. I love, you know, Dara Hannah. I mean, all these stories of the mermaids. But I think you gotta be careful though. I don't know. I just heard. I don't. Yeah. Um. I would let the women do that because again, I think because they're aware of us as females, and I think we send off a certain energy signature that they recognize. I think women have, gratefully, I haven't heard anything negative happen when it comes to women, when it comes to the Mer family. And that mommy, Wata, that Yamiya, I think it's something more positive. So I think the women should do the little bit of the investigation when it comes to this. There's a video of a fisherman and a siren was calling him to the water. Yeah, I think they eat the males. I think they think the males are their enemies. So I think that's, you heard your boyfriend who's from Ghana talk about communicating with mermaids in this realm. And you can marry them in the realm, but he's like, you don't want to mess with the mermaids. Ah, he knows. Thank you, Tatiana. Tatiana says her boyfriend is from Africa. He's talking about them in the other realms. It would make sense. I had that whole interface with the dolphins, and I don't ever call I don't do any of that channeling anything. They came to me. So I would really start. And also remember, even, you know, that we're mixed with a lot of the aquatics. Why? Is because, you know, Willy Wonka stopped us from being able to give birth. So, um, you know, you want to give birth in the water with the dolphins. Remember that was an option? Do you guys remember that was an option? And a lot of people, like my girlfriend, Karis, wanted to give birth with the dolphins in the water, and they stopped it because when you were in the waterways and you're about to give birth, the women said when they went and gave birth with the dolphins, literally the pain and the dolphin would talk to the baby in the womb, and it would be such a much more pleasant experience. So I was like, I would love to give birth in the water with the dolphins. I would love to do that, you know, but I think they stopped it. They banned it. You know that, right? So they banned it. So they're not allowing women to give birth anymore with the dolphins. I thought that was awesome. Um, so can anyone verify if anybody else is doing it? You were looking into that yesterday. The dolphins sent signals to them, say the babies end up being, oh, they actually smarter, and maybe they call them. Australia still does it. That would be awesome. I think they ban them because maybe at this time those babies would have connection to the dolphins. I think that may be an issue. Huh. If anybody does this, please put the link to wherever you do it. If you're someone who does assist women with giving birth to, they stopped it in Hawaii. D. Marquez said they stopped it in Hawaii. If anyone has it's a tiny, wait, let's see. It's a tiny organization in Australia. They aren't advertising it though. Oh, darn. Okay, and you certainly don't want to go to Australia now because those poor people are dealing with so much bureaucracy with cucarachas. Well, if anybody does it, I would love for you to put the link because there's so many mothers who would love to give birth with the dolphins. If it's, if it's feasible, if you know somewhere that does it, I would love that you put the link in the, later on in the description. I think it's an amazing experience. I think every woman, if you have the opportunity and you can, I would love to give birth in the water. I would love to give birth in the waterways, like out in the ocean. I think Mexico as well. I was pregnant and swam with the dolphins in St. Augustine. Isn't it beautiful? Mahogany? That's beautiful. That you can still do. I wonder if Mexico, I think y'all in Mexico, I think Mexico may still do that. Huh. My Mexicano family, let me know also. I think we should probably look into that. So any mommies on here, let's find places if you want to. I mean, if it's a healthy, I think, listen, back in the days when we were young, when we were a young society, we could give birth so easy. I mean, now it's like they make it such a process, and you got to be careful giving birth with any Willy Wonka systems. I told you about that. They're looking for a certain child right now. So I wouldn't announce too much and give too much access to Willy Wonka. Okay. So I'm just saying, if you can, if anybody knows a place to give birth with the dolphins, please send a link. I would love to have that information to extend that to everyone. It would be beautiful. And also, and also sometimes, like I said, I think we're healthier to give birth in a natural environment, you know what I mean? And do it close to the water. I think it's beautiful. They're looking for a certain kind of child. They're tagging all, I told everybody online, a lot of my social network people online, a lot of got to be careful. They're looking for a child right now. Remember the whole biblical term that they were looking for, remember back when they were looking for the first son, in the biblical, in the Bible, they talk about they were looking for the first son and they were murdering all the first boys because they were looking for that Messiah. They're looking for specific babies right now. That's why I love you. Many of you know I love Jake and Nicole they're one of they're homesteaders online. I watched their journey, and she was pregnant and she was in the middle of nature. She was over on the other side of Washington State in Canada, in like the rainforest part of Canada. They were living off of there, off the grid. And I felt like her and a couple other people, remember that other natural couple? One was from, she was from the show, remember that singing show? America Got Talent, not America Got Talent. Anyway, it's a brown couple. She was another naturopathic couple. Remember they took the babies? Same with Nicole and Jake. She had an emergency and they took the baby for 3 days. They wouldn't let her because of cucarachas. Remember, I don't want to even talk that into existence. All of the very off-grid people, all of the naturopathic people, they are getting their babies. They're doing things. I don't know if they're sending sonic waves towards the mothers, making it so that they got to get in the hospital. They're doing something. That's why I say, and they were outside the country. They were in Canada, but Canada is another of one of the Queen Lizzie's colonies, right? So you can't trust Canada because Queen Lizzie rules over there too. But they got her baby. They got her for 3 days. They would not let her have access to her child for 3 days. How do you do that to a mother who just gave birth to a child and saying she was going to infect the child? She gave birth to the child and they wouldn't let her be exposed to her child for 3 days, saying she could give cucarachas because she tested positive. I think they purposefully did that. So just be careful with announcing too much, especially if you're very naturopathic, very conscious. They're trying to tag all the babies. They're doing it to every baby. All of them saying, remember the mother that was attacked for not giving her child B12 and they came and got the child and took the child for like months or weeks. I mean, they're doing it all over. You got to be very careful. Let me explain. We all have to be careful. So if you're preggo now and you're pregnant, and listen, I'm excited. Being pregnant is exciting. I love being pregnant. I love, love, love having babies. I do, healthy babies. I love it. But we have to be careful putting that announcement out there because they're going to get access to the child. They're going to try to get access to tag them. So if you can get a doula and a holistic, and it's let me explain something. As much money as your insurance policy will cost you out of pocket, especially which depending on what your medical insurance covers, it would definitely be a benefit for you to find a wonderful doula and homeopathic place outside of the realm of Willy Wonka and do it privatized. Because if you do it, they'll have a private suite for you, but you got to be careful because everything in the United States is covered. You know, look for places that have alternative ways to give birth and make sure you aren't doing all those sonograms because, you know, the sonograms also hurt the babies too. Doing those sonograms, that's why the babies cover their ears or their eyes because you're hurting them. The sonic, they can hear it. It's very loud in the womb. So remember, you can check on the baby, but you don't have to. Oh, thank you, Larry Brown. I appreciate it. Make sure you got to be careful doing all those sonograms and putting all that sonic radiation for the babies. It hurts them. You can get the baby a wonderful doula and a wonderful, especially, we had our own Sea Star. Oh gosh, what's her name? I love her. She's in Florida, young lady, Mexican background, beautiful Mexicano family. She knew the old ways. If you go to Central and South America, listen, they don't go to doctors. They get birth in the house or right outside. You get a wonderful person who is wisdom bearing as far as having children. They can turn the baby. They can do everything. And you can have someone that can help you through that birthing process. So, you know, and it's inexpensive. And if you're going to come out of pocket with all those thousands of dollars that they're going to charge you, and then most of the time they're trying to give you they don't want to wait out your labor. They want to give you a C-section. They make more money for a C-section than you giving birth naturally. So and they don't want to wait the 8 to 15, 24 hours because it costs too much money. So they're quick to give you a C-section. Even, I'm not saying there's not times in an emergency, if that's what's required to save the mother and child, by all means, I think it's fine. But I'm talking about most cases, women are getting scheduled C-sections. I mean, that's insane. And if you had a C-section, ask your doula or your doctor about a VBAC. A VBAC is like after you get a C-section, if your womb is healed, most women can give birth naturally. They used to tell women, oh no, after you get a C-section, you can't give birth naturally, vaginally. That is a lie. Some women, yes, if the scar tissue is blocking that area in the womb, yes, you could have an issue. But most women, if you aren't having issues, you can have a VBAC, meaning you can have a vaginal birth after having a C-section. But most women don't know that because they're not announcing it to you because they make so much more money by giving you a C-section. So I just say, our pregos here, be careful how much information you give out. That cord blood is a setup because as soon as you get pregnant, you're going to start getting all of this information. How do they get your information? How, when you get pregnant, all of a sudden in your email, you're getting all this offers for your cord blood. Oh, cord blood bank. Oh, cord bank. Where are they getting your information from? That's why I say you got to be careful because they're looking for a specific child right now. So that being said, look into giving birth naturally with a doula. Pay out of pocket, save up a couple, like $1,200. You can do it in your home. You could do it at their place. You could do it in nature. Just make sure it could be close to a hospital in case You're a little nervous, especially as a new mommy. In case you're a little nervous, you could do it close to a hospital so that, but it could be in nature. So in case of any emergencies, in a drop of a dime, you could just be whisked off and that could be addressed. But I would suggest every woman here, I wouldn't document your information. I wouldn't even tell them anything. Because you had a VBAC, Water for the Mind says she had a VBAC. See? How'd you do it during the VBAC, Water for the Mind? I'm looking for Water for the Mind. Okay, I'm just waiting for what. I just wanted to ask how you did with the VBAC too. Had two sons after knowing American. Thank you so much. Listen to these wonderful young ladies tell you that they had VBACs. I mean, so be careful letting now we want a healthy baby, we want a healthy you. So I say this, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a practitioner, but I am a mommy and I have had healthy babies. And again, if I have another baby, I will definitely have a baby in nature. I definitely want to do that as an option because I think it's how the environment that the baby comes in also affects the baby's disposition, their energy. It was beautiful. Water from the sea. Good for you. I'm grateful to hear that. Congratulations. I love that. Beautiful. Yeah, giving birth, I love, 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 especially, oh, it would be so amazing. Yeah, they've been doing it for ages, right? Melanated High Priestess gave birth during this whole pandemic time. She did it beautifully at home on her own. I remember seeing the picture. She's home with the babies. It was beautiful. Melanated High Priestess had a beautiful son on her own. She pushed the baby out and had it. She still wasn't like she told me right before she was going to hospital. She was chilling with her family and the baby right there. How beautiful. She didn't even have a doula. She did it herself. She gave birth herself. How strong and beautiful. We used to do that all the time. You know what I mean? We weren't going to get sonograms and all that stuff. We would feel the baby. You would have a midwife come in, feel how much you effaced inside, check your tummy, and when it was time, you gave birth. You know what I mean? Breastfeeding was natural. Now you've got them saying baby food is gone. You know why what mothers are freaking out is because a lot of people aren't encouraged to breastfeed anymore. I breastfeed both of my daughters and loved it. And I breastfed them to close to almost 5 years. I love breastfeeding. I loved it. I always felt good. They were healthy. They hadn't ever had an ear infection. Those little girls are so bonded. Oh my gosh, I love, love, love. I sleep when they're older now, they still love to sleep next to me. It's such a bonding and such a healthy way to give your children your nutrition. I mean, it's your milk is tailored for your babies. They've got the right pH, they got the right temperature, they got the right distribution of vitamin ratio fat to your baby. Our human milk is made for human babies, and that human milk creates a healthy human baby. Why would you give your child anything else but what you naturally, when nature made? Nature is always correct in that way. You create what's proper for your children. I mean, and I had another mother. There was another time. This is crazy because there was another mom that was breastfeeding her girlfriend's daughter, her best friend's daughter, and there was another mom that was demonized. Like, how are you going to breastfeed another? Okay, so you're going to demonize a mother who's healthy, breastfeeding her friend's daughter because she was going to work, but you think it's okay to go give your child cow's milk or another species milk or governmental milk in a can? And this woman was so kind to breastfeed her best friend's. Listen, if I have milk and my girlfriend needed milk, I'm breastfeeding all the children. That's why. Why wouldn't you do it? That makes no sense. She was being demonized by another one of the women saying that's disgusting to breastfeed. And oh, but you'll go and pick up some baby formula and a dirty warehouse made by eugenicists, right? You're okay with that, right? Made chemically by some mad scientists. But your best friend, a woman's best friend who's healthy, this woman was organic, she was healthy, she was breastfeeding. You have a problem with that? This is the mental illness of the society. They would prefer to give their children another species milk than to give them human milk, which is intended for a baby. It's weird. It's very weird, y'all. It's very weird. The society we live in. We're living in those interesting times. Anyway, y'all, I enjoyed having our conversation. Thank you so much today. I enjoyed coming here, and I came in early today. I want to go get some. I want to go get some to eat. I drank all my boba. Um, I had milk. My milk was sweet, and I used to feed my. Listen, y'all ain't prepared for the adult conversation in here. Some of y'all don't realize when my husband wasn't feeling well, guess what? He had breast milk from me, and because I was organic and I grew most of my own food, guess what? When he would have breast milk from me, see, this is an adult conversation. People are like, oh my God, your husband. Absolutely, because my breast milk was also a healer. It was an elixir that healed him. So whenever he had my breast milk added to anything, he felt better. Okay, so a lot of people get really disgusted with that conversation. It's like, oh, but you'll give your child or your husband dairy from a cow, but him drinking from a woman who's eating properly and healthy and organically, who has all the antibodies to keep his system up, that's negative. That's why we're living in a really weird world where that can be demonized, but people will drink a whole bunch of milk. Oh my God. Hey, oh, Asaki, thank you, my love. Thank you. I love it. Such deep belongings. Yeah, I mean, he would brag too. He would go around and tell his homeboys. He was like, he wasn't feeling well. And he was like, he had a little bit of his wife's milk and he felt better. Every single time he didn't feel well, he would drink my milk and he would feel better. We're supposed to sustain our families. That's what the milk is for. So for any of you who didn't know that, that is actually what we're supposed to do. And if anyone tells you any different, they are suffering from Stockholm syndrome, and probably they are cow babies. Okay? They've been reared on another species milk. So of course they'll demonize natural milk because they're all cow babies or formula babies drinking a whole bunch of soy and chemicals in a container. You go in the Caribbean, even if a mother can't feed her baby their milk, in the Caribbean, we make cassava. They'll mash up some yams. The baby will still eat natural food from the trees and the elements. They aren't giving their baby. You're making me thirsty. AJ, I'm saying they're not giving their baby a can from aluminum from a sociopath's factory. That's mental illness. What society would encourage that? You smash up, right? Coconut, banana, seafood. What? Those babies will eat. If mommy's milk isn't coming, oh, you darn Skippy, there'll be coconut milk. There'll be a smashed cassava, guava. Goat's milk is even closer than cow's milk. Thank you, Miss Nia. Come on, y'all. Yeah, my girlfriend was like, I thought it was so beautiful. She nursed her one of the other girls' babies, her best friend's baby. I loved it. And when I was nursing, I remember there was the other woman. She wasn't getting as much milk. And I offered to breastfeed her child. I said, well, I have extra milk because when I was nursing my youngest, I had a lot of extra milk. And, my youngest was feeding, but, sometimes you would just have a lot of milk. Some people, gratefully, I had a lot of milk and so on. So I said, if you want to, I'll breastfeed your child. Her husband felt a certain way about that. But I was like, it's crazy. Don't let a man into your conversation. She knew what I ate. She knew I was healthy. I was disease free. So if your child needed milk, I had it. And I'm saying it's organic. You didn't have to warm it up. I was a clean person. I was hygienic. I wasn't having sex and mass destruction. I was disease free. I wasn't smoking, drinking. So, I always say, women, when we live in villages, we nurse each other's babies. If you had to go off to work, I would nurse your baby. That's what I would do, and vice versa. You know what I mean? And if you have a partnership and somebody and they needed milk in the village, you give milk. If the grandmother required something because it's good for the skin too, they would take some of the breast milk. And if somebody had a breakout on their skin, you put it on the face, or you put it on a bruise, a cut. You put the breast milk in a cut. I mean, the breast milk is magical. Come on, y'all. And don't listen to these whole new people saying breastfeeding. You can't say breastfeeding anymore. You got to say chest feeding. The only ones who make breast milk are women. Natural, organic women make breast milk. So stop demonizing and saying that all these transsexuals can give birth to children and have breastfeed. They aren't giving milk. Remember, they had that whole video of a transsexual that didn't have any breasts, and he was breastfeeding the child. That's abuse. That's sexual abuse. If you have somebody putting a child on a breast that had hair on his nipples, and he's talking about he's breastfeeding the child, that's mental illness. That's some sort of abuse. Chest feeding. No, the only ones gratefully that can give birth and can create milk, generate milk, is a woman. Okay? So stop that nonsense. It's disgusting. They had that video. I was like, what? First of all, they should be arrested. They should have arrested them for doing that. You putting a man's nipple in your mouth because you think you're a woman, that's mental illness. You're not a woman. And you know you're not a woman because you can't give birth through your anal cavity, and you certainly can't breastfeed through a nipple with hair on it that doesn't have milk ducts in it. My gosh. That's sickos in this world. It's sick. I would have if I was a police officer, I would have arrested him. He would have been arrested and with child abuse. He would have been arrested, and he would have been accused of child abuse, and he would have been on the list, so he could never be in company of a child again. What kind of madness is that nonsense? Sickos in this society. All kinds of madness going on with that craziness. So anyway, y'all, I know we went off on a tangent. I love having these organic conversations. Big up to everybody. It is Friday. It is Venus Day. I hope you are enjoying yourself. Okay, no, we're not doing this right now. Fi is looking for attention from me. I hope you enjoy your day. I don't know. Today, I think I want to remember the lady that was breastfeeding her cat? I mean, remember there was in Mexico, they breastfeed the puppies sometimes too. But that's kind of like a crux too, because again, if an animal needs it, I mean, if an animal needs it, she didn't have to latch them onto her breast though. She could have just expressed it in the cup or something else. But I don't want to even touch that. I don't want to even touch that. Yeah. Sometimes, I mean, I've seen women do it. Remember the lady, the Mexican lady, she was feeding the puppy the breast milk. I mean, but again, I don't think she had to do it from a tetas. She could have just expressed it and put it in a bottle it's okay for the puppy to drink her milk, but I would think, putting a mouth of a dog or an animal on your breast, that's a little bit too much. I don't know. I'm not judging it. It's still breast milk, but to each their own. That's some sort no comment. Anyway, y'all, let me go. I'm going to go grab something to eat. I hope everybody's well. Yeah, it's just, then they're going to start breastfeeding squirrels and so on. I don't know. Whatever if you want to use your milk for that, by all means, it's your milk. You know what I mean? At least you could create it. So I'm going to go. I'm sending everybody amazing energy. Stay positive, stay up, stay conscious, and we'll reconvene soon. So have an amazing weekend. I think it's a holiday. Is it a holiday weekend? I think it's Memorial Day weekend. Am I correct? What do you want, Fi? Fi, what do you want? Is it Memorial Day weekend, y'all? I think it is, right? think, are y'all still talking about bestiality, feeding? Oh, it's Memorial Day weekend. Okay. So I hope everybody enjoys themselves, you know. We're going to enjoy ourselves today. Um, it's kind of rainy a little, but it's beautiful. So breast milk comes from the heart. Yeah, I agree. Oh, I have my hair in, I know I never wear my hair in a bun. My hair is thick. I'm grateful for it. Is anybody's hair getting really thick? My hair is thick. My banana clips, I told everyone last night on Zoom, my banana clip, my curls are popping. My hair came out of my banana clip and smacked me. It was like, F you. Screw banana clips. Yeah, my hair is not doing banana clips anymore. It's really thick. So, like I said, I'm grateful. There isn't any there isn't anything to it, but I keep it. It's really thick, so I keep it in a bun or I keep it just out natural. You know what I mean? Anyway, y'all, so I'm out. Have an amazing day. Enjoy yourself. Go see if you can find yourself some mermaids and have a conversation. That'll be great. And we'll reconvene soon. All right. Peace. Bye bye. And also put a like on the video as you exit if you up for the shenanigans and you like the content. All right. Peace.